Our dear God, we thank you for this afternoon. We thank you for your being with us this morning. We thank you for the sessions that we've had. As we continue discussing these truths, we ask that you guide us. May your will be done, even as we prepare for thy Sabbath. Ask for the blessings, my friend, in Jesus' name. So I'll start with what we did yesterday. I will finish off what I recap just only what we did yesterday, and I will finish the study today. If I have time, I will do a recap for those who are not there. So yesterday, so what we did yesterday, we started with second wave feminism. We saw what started second wave feminism, that is the year 1963. We saw a book that was written by Friedan that is explaining the myth that was held by the American society in that 20th century. We saw also, we saw the impact that book brought. It was like a wake-up call for this movement called the second wave feminism. Then we saw a counter book that was countering that message of the second wave feminism. And I think that book was how ideal woman awakes a man's deepest love and tenderness. So we looked at that one. So we moved from there. Also, we looked Tradwives. For those who have been there, they know the tactics about Tradwives as a fight against feminism. So we looked at Tradwives, race and religion. So we talked about race in the context that when we look at this movement, Tradwives, it's mostly made up of the white women. But also we see this ideology of Tradwives is going to be embraced or is going to be taken also by Black women. So we also saw why are the Black women also being attracted by these ideologies of Tradwives. We saw that for them, they are not going to look at or embrace these Tradwives ideologies from the same perspective as the white women, because the white women will look at it from traditional marriage. Tradition, we said, if going back to 1950s, 1940s, where women, where we see the problem that Friedan tackled, where women are satisfied at households, and that is a divine, that's a divine thing, or that's what defines you as a woman. But we saw that was just a myth. It was not correct, but the research that was done. So we saw that the Black women are going to embrace these ideologies using the concept of Bible submission. So they are going to use the Bible because the Bible says that women submit. So they are going to see that these ideologies of women are submitting to their husband is a good ideology. Also, we looked at another point that we talked about, these women also seeing Tradwives as a good thing, is they see that as a reparation. When you go back to the history, the Black women, there's a time that they worked in the white houses, but it wasn't by choice. So when it comes to Tradwives, it's you, because they have this concept or ideology that the true feminism is all about choice. If you make a choice as a woman, any decision that you make, as long as it's you as a woman who has made that choice, then that should be a true feminism. That's empowerment. So they see that one by them choosing to drop out of career and concentrate on taking care of their husband or children. That is their empowerment. That is something that they have chosen. So we talked also about religion. So we saw most of the Catholic women, they align themselves with the right-wing ideologies. And we saw the impact they brought when we come to election of Donald Trump. Yeah. So, and also when we look at these conservative women, we go back to 1950s, 1940s, and that's where they will see the divination of womanhood. what you are required to do as a woman, what you are not required not to do as a woman. Also, we looked about Tradwives and relationship. So we talked about how this concept of this section of women that is going to drop out of a career to focus on the family issue, how they are going to be excluded from public spheres, where we see that they are going to be left with this ideology that the world is even not worthy in participating in it. So I think that's what we talked about. Another thing that we talked about Tradwives and stay-at-home girlfriends, and also so that this concept is going to be stretched not only to the married women, but also for those that are not married. So we talked about soft life, self-life, where we see most of the young girls now embracing this ideology of Tradwives because of this self-life. They see it as a life that is comfortable to them. So I introduced yesterday an article that Elder Paminda sent the media broadcast that was speaking about Femosphere and also the Femicell. So I think we stopped there, and I want to pick up from there. So we finish and we do summary. I want to, so for those who have the document, I want to comment some few comments from that document. I think Snyder sent to our group. So I read the first paragraph, but yeah, the first paragraph. Then I will instruct us the specific words or sentences I wanted us to pick. So as you have to reason, as I will instruct you which paragraph that you are going to read. So we are reading the first paragraph. The manosphere, the misogynistic internet world operated influencers such as handbook is widely recognized as a toxic space where young men are at risk of radicalization. Now, says researchers, women and girls are being sucked into potential dangerous online spaces of their own, the Femosphere. So we think, I think the reason why we have Femosphere, I think, is to counter Manosphere. So they are going to create their online spaces, but we see the author is going to say that it is a dangerous online space for these women. So I want to read also another sentence in the second paragraph, but where it starts with Femicell. So yesterday we talked about, when we talked about Femicell, we connected the 2014. So I want us to recap 2014, what we see, because at the end of this article, we are going to see that this Femicell and the incel, their ideologies, they are connected. At the end of, they are going to come to the same point. So we have 2014. So 2014, I think, try and mark the first four prophetic events that we see 2014. But also those are not only prophetic events that we see 2014, but we said we also have the rise of incel movement. The rise of incel movement. So you think when it says femcel, so it's you can think of also this word incel. So we remember the incel who are, so these are men that the involuntarily celibate men that are reframing women for them not finding a partner. Yeah, so we can go to the second paragraph where it says, we can start from where it says, young women and how a backlash against mainstream feminism has created new spaces online in the thermosphere. Instead of incels, male involuntarily self-help, they are femcells. And instead of pickup, they are female dating strategies and so-called dark feminism, dark feminine. So what we see, when you come to this incel movement 2014, they had the strategy, since we said it is one of the ideologies, they are framing women, there is a specific women that they want to pursue and have relationship with. And these women, how they perceive these women is that these women are rejecting them and they are framing them. So one of the strategies this movement came with is how to seduce those women. And how to seduce those women is what I think the author is called here, pickup artists. Those are the strategies the incel movement were using. So instead of that, so we have the contrast is dark feminism. So for femicell, the strategies, remember our topic from above was saying the femicell influencers urge their followers to give up on gender equality and use men for financial gain in the name of feminism. So these femicell influencers, they have looked at feminism and they are saying like feminism is failing. We are failing to have this equality of paying equally. Even if we fight, for them, they see that this is a fight that cannot be achievable. So if it cannot be achievable, what are the strategies that we can use to try to survive in this environment? And that is what one of those strategies is. Now, since we are failed to achieve gender equality, then we can use these men, we can look for these men who have money, then they can support us so that we cannot lose both grounds. So instead of so for femicell, their strategies to find these men that can finance them. It is called dark feminine. So dark feminine. So one of their beliefs is that they believe that as a man, so man is a provider. So we talk about their beliefs. Man is a provider or a gatekeeper. So I think it's being spoken in the article. That is the paragraph 6. So the last paragraph, it says, Kay looked, so Kay is one of those who did the research on this femicell. So you see, Kay looked at female dating strategy, which started as a Reddit forum with more than 250,000 men and expounded into social media and as a podcast. It has 6-point ideologies for members to subscribe to, which include ideas such as men should always pursue women should seek financial contribution from men, and the majority of men have no mainstream feminism. So Okay, have no pardon. Okay, thank you. So I wanted to look at just a minute. The paragraph which says, or the idea that to counter women lesser earning power, the gender pay gap in the UK, that quoted, rather than fighting for pay equality, a man should provide for a woman financially. So that's what I wanted. So rather than pursuing for this equality, so a man should be a provider. Provide for a woman financially. So a man should provide in terms of finance. Finance, yes. And what is the role of a woman? For a woman, and women must embrace feminine energy to secure a husband. To secure a husband, yes. So for the role of a woman, it is to embrace the men to make sure that they are securing this man. And how they are going to secure, if you continue reading, because we are not going to read the entire article, but if you find time, you can read on it. So for them, they will see that for a man, a gatekeeper for finance, money, but for women, or for sex. So that is how you can keep a man. So the reason why I brought this article, I wanted to comment on it, is you see the same ideologies of Tradwives here. Really, this movement is going to blame feminism failing them. That instead you want to, because we see feminism is fighting for this equality. Like, for example, paying to be paid equally. But for them, they say this cannot happen. And since it cannot happen, what should you do? You should be financially depending a man. And for you, you have to please this man through sex. I want to mark also another point in 2014, which I will connect with as we move on with the study. 2014 also, we are going to mark the rise of alpha right movement. Yes. That's okay. Oh, so what I said, the reason why we went through that article is because when I looked at this group and what they are agitating for, or what they are giving out, I saw that this is much connected to the Tradwives ideology, because it's more of fighting against the feminism. Because what we see Tradwives is fighting against the feminism. For feminism, they want this equality in terms of political, economical, social, and everything. But for them, they see feminism has failed them. Since it has failed them, how can they survive in the world, survive for the fittest? It is why them looking for these men who can provide for them financially. And for their role is to impress these women. Okay, so I was saying, 2014, another thing that we can mark 2014 is the rise of alt-right movement. And why I'm bringing this point, when you look at the Tradwives, things have been made connected to Tradwives. So I'll say Tradwives, this movement is connected to this ideologically. Ideological. So, speaking of the same point, when we talk about the two strings or two political parties, US, now we have the right wing and the left wing. Left wing and the right wing. We connect this with the Democratic Party when we talk about informal institutions. Then this one, Republican. Also, we learn that this political party, when we have a crash of freedom and equality, for them they will choose freedom over equality. And this one will be other way around. So I wanted to talk, when we talk about the Sunday law, you're not talking much of this wing, but we are focused on the Republican Party. So when we talk about Republican Party in connection with the equality, we know that the Republican Party are not against women working. So that is not what they are against. What they are pushing for, the people, the right wing, is that women should work, yes, and also have their roles, play their roles at home. So that is what they are pushing. So you can see them also focused also on gender roles. Yeah, gender roles. So I want to talk about this in connection with what I think, I don't know whether it's Grace Brian who wrote that point, Project 2025, connection with this, and also in connection with the Tradwives. So we are going to look at Project 2025. And Tradwives. So I think quickly we can refresh on what is Project 2025. I think from yesterday part one, we talked about Project 25 as what I think most of us we have had or we are familiar with this Project 2025. Either you've read the document or you have heard of it. So when we talk about Project 2025, what do we understand about it? So Project 2025 is a detailed blueprint our policies for the next Republican president for reshaping the federal government. So, it was a project before even the year, I know that we are in the year 2025. So this was a project that started that was pointing for the year 2025 before even the election. So once a Republican president is going to come to power, what are the things or the policies that the Heritage Foundation is going to expect from them? So we've said Project 2025 said it is a detail. What do you see? For the next Republican. So, you know, I understand by now we have the Republican president in power. And most of the policies that we see that is being implemented are found in the project 2025. Reshaping the federal government. On 1973. Not the project itself, the Heritage Foundation. Nineteen seventy three. So I have the book. I will quote some of the statements from this book project. Mandate for readership. So from the beginning of it, they're going to comment, you know, when we talk about 1973, when the Heritage Foundation is going to be founded, before we move on, I want us to see why, what triggered this, this think tank, I think, think tank, the American think tank, to come with this Heritage Foundation. What was happening in that time period? I want to just have a small history of what was happening. We have 1973, marked here, Heritage Foundation. But before that, I want us also to look at what was happening before 1798, 1773. So we can go back to 1963 and 1963-64. What we have is the Civil Rights Act, and the Civil Rights Movement. That was dealing with race. We have 1969 We have Stonewall movement. It's going to deal with LGBTQ, the rights of LGBTQ plus. Then we have 1970, second wave feminism. Then we have 1973 itself. We have Roe v. Wade. That's dealing with reproductive rights. So you can see these are we see the issue about race, LGBTQ, and feminism. These things are going to anchor this the conservative movement, some of the conservative people. And now they are going to look at how, because they see if they just continue like that, they are going to face judgment from God. So they want to see what are the strategies that they can see to bring America back to America great again. So they on few things. So we have, for example, we talk about it's founded on the 4 pillars. So the 4 pillars I'm not going to write. So you can read it from the book itself. So we have the 4 pillars. I just use 1, 2, 3. I'm interested on the 4th one. So I read the 4th one. So the 4th one is says, the prayer book we are forming, agents, stamps, and writing, drafting, transition plans to move out upon the president utterance of so help me God. So that's the 4th one. So they are focused on the president that's going to come. If we have an election, so they write these policies, they revise it each and every year before they go to the election. So the 4th one is talking about how God is going to help whoever that is going to implement this. So so we have 4 pillars, but also we have the 4, that's around page 1. I read from page 1, then I will comment. It says, but 4 years ago, so that's starting 2024, conservative movements were in a dire state. What had been betrayed by Washington establishment and were uncertain whom to trust. What were internally printed and strategically agreed. What still at that moment overacted vulnerability and division. We find ourselves besieged by existential adversaries, foreign and domestic. The late 1970s were, by any measure, historical low point for America and political coalition dedicated to preserving its unique legacy. So it says today, America and the conservative movement are enduring an era of division and danger akin to that late 1970s. So they are going to compare the year 2024 and what they see as the 1970s, what was happening. Now, as then, our political class has been discredited by wholesale, dishonest, and corruption. Looking at America under the ruling and cultural elites today, infection is ravaging family budgets, drug overdose deaths, continue to escalate and children suffer the toxic normalization of transgenderism with drag queens and pornography. So it continues talking about how they see these things they see in 2024 onwards, and they have been observing, and what they saw happened before they started the foundation. So they are going to quote about the children being affected by transgenderism. They will quote issues to do with communism and many other things. So what I was interested is found in page 3, that's going to talk about the conservative promise. That is, if you have the book, it says the Heritage Foundation is once again facilitating this work, but as our dozens of partners and hundreds of others will attest to, this book is the work of entire conservative movement. As such, the authors expressed consensus recommendation already forged especially around 4 broad fronts that will decide America's future. 1, restore the family, and the centerpiece, American life, and protect our children. So I'm not interested with the other 3, so I was interested on the first one. So also we have the 4 broad fronts that is going to will decide American future. So you have 1, they're saying the issue about family, and you read about the rest. The rest of it, because I won't write the rest of it because I'm not interested on it. So they said we've already read it, that is restore the family. You can say it's a restoration of family. So when they look at the culture that we are living in, we see that they see that the family has been under attack. So they need to restore family values and protect the children. You know, when they're talking about protection of the children, they're talking about what is being taught at schools, issues about transgenderism and what they watch. I think from the above, they talked about transgenderism, drag queen, which is influencing the children, as they say. So the rest of the book we can read. So when we look at the conservatives, their main goal as this foundation is to restore the family values. And we talked about here the Republican Party. They are not against women working. Rather, women should know as they work also, they should know the role they play to the family. So the connection of that with Tradwives. So we see Tradwives is this women can work and also concentrate at gender roles at home. So I see when it comes to Tradwives and the Republican Party, or what we call the right wing, there is connections that we can draw in terms of ideologies. So also to finish, I'll talk about what Trump did. One of the things that we talked about Tradwives, we said they're saying gender binary. Talk about the NEP. So they are going to say gender binary So these are the Tradwives. The gender binary. Gender binary is the only way you can maintain your human being. So they are talking about binary, man and woman. So you can see they're against the transgenders. And when you come to the conservative, I think it is the same ideologies. They are not open for the spectrum aspect. It is about gender binary, plus also what we talked about gender roles. Only way you can maintain your womanhood. It's about gender binary. So we see, I was saying, when you come to 2022, I said this was a project before the election. So when you come to 2025 election, 2024, November 5th, already election has been done and Trump has won the president. We see all of the, we have the president executive orders. So we have president executive orders. So we know many of the orders that Trump is going to pass during the inauguration, that is January 20th. But one of them that I will talk about in connection of my story is what Trump said about the genders. So he said it's going to talk about two, we have only two genders. Genders. And most of the other things that Trump is going to implement are also from the project 2025. But since it's not in the line of my study, I won't go there. So do you have any questions, some comments? So I think I will do the summary of the entire study since I started, then I will finish there. So summary. So we were looking at fight against the feminism. Fight against the feminism. So I remember we went through our lines, the line of 144, the line of 144, we identified the message that is going to be unsealed in the dispensation of the latter lane is feminism. And it is the feminism that is going to bring the shuttle door in that dispensation. And also we saw that feminism is connected to the other groups, which is the Revite group and the Nithinem group. So it's an important subject to look at. If in fact, feminism, which is equality, was the message that was unsealed by the midnight cry. So we said in our focus, if you remember the points that we wrote here in this slide when I started, I said, we're going to look at feminism, the definition of feminism, the waves of feminism, and how we see movements that arose to fight against that feminism. So we specifically traced the Tradwives movement, and by definition, we saw Tradwives is or rather a Tradwife is a woman that practices or believes and practices gender roles. Then we trace that movement from the rise of it up to its peak as a mainstream. Also, we said we are going to connect this Tradwives with the Republican Party. So that's, I think, what we have done today. So we've seen the Republican Party, their ideologies, which is specific on gender roles, is connected with Tradwives. So I think I'm done with my summary. So I'll stop there unless we have a question. Any question? So I remember yesterday I had a question. How many minutes I have? I can answer this question. So yesterday I think I had two questions. So I tackled one, we discussed one, we left with one. So the question that we left with was, now that I think from the class there was a suggestion that was raised about the question. So there was a question that was raised that when it comes to this, the workplace, if you are, we say you are a journalist, and there is this standard that is required from you. So what is, as you as an individual, how are you supposed to go about it? That's the question. Yes? The class, that was the question for those who are not there. For those who are there, that was the question. So I know it's an individual question. I think another question that we were having, though I think we finished that one, the ones that we talked about SEPA, that we are going to tackle today about the Western and African circumstances issue. Yeah. Yeah, those two. I think we can finish with SEPA one, then we will go to the second question. So what does people think? What is the question? The question was, we've talked about, I think the original question was, is there anything good that you can find in Tradwives? Because we've discussed it, we've talked about negative aspect of it. So is there anything good that we can see in Tradwives? And I think the conversation that we had is that there's nothing good we can talk about Tradwives. Then the follow-up question was, what about in these cases that you find a woman is at home, they are in the movement, understands equality, both of them understands equality, then is at home. What about that aspect? Then I think that is the follow-up question. So how will we go about that one? And the concept, I think the question approached the concept of the Western world and the African world. The Western world, it is easier to handle that because there are at least the fair of economic and financial. But when it comes to the African world, it's so hard to find a job. So how will we go that one? Yes, those who asked the question, that was the question. So what are our suggestions? Yes, Tito? Okay, you can comment. You can comment. Oh. Yeah, deepest love in tenderness now. My comment on that was, I think there is something that I think the issue how that can work, how that can that how that not to blend in some like the kind of so you need something in the air. I think that any human being
when I'm going to anyone that was going to do that we could bring the best to the not like if you know the best of and the best. So the only problem is that they people like that and it's very amazing and it's best to so I think that we bring the best now. But I think as much as one of the best things that Americans to have happiness in the little boy and other so I think it is true that it is a mostly that women can bring back in men and it's also true that men can bring sorry women can bring back in men and men can also bring back in so it's funny that it's different. And I think so people and then whether it's couples, whether it's friends, whether it's parents, I think you find joy in my time, you find joy in your family, you find joy in so I think it's only different. So they come to that different stuff. We should be that some of these some of the problem with our products, like the products, the those index training, and I think one of the things that makes them important to me that they need some like there are some work in our work and so that we encounter them like you don't get what you don't change the yeah, so it's like because we need that to advance we need that to
Okay. So Titus is saying, is commenting on the book that we talked about as a counter of second wave feminism, that is women bringing the deepest love and tenderness to a man. That there is some truth on that, but it is weaponized. Yeah, that's the point I think Titus was making. So thank you for that. You're answering the question. Comment. Yes. 2 questions. Okay. Which one are you responding to? Yeah. And in the past of the break that into that in the daily life some people want to have Tradwives enough. So you have a question that is following different based on different geographical areas. That is one thing that came into my mind because if we are going to say that the whites or the West, they are able, they can do that. I think you can empower your wife, you can empower your women, you can empower your culture with something more. No, the community, I don't argue with that. I don't think value that African women, they know where they can empower, but it is easy when it comes to Western culture. I think that brings the issue that Western culture, they should be practicing equality to a certain level. And we, as Africans, our equality should be to a certain level. That is something that it brings a level. It is very dangerous. So Grace is saying that when it comes to matter of equality, we do not have the levels, different group practice equality up to this level, and other groups practice equality up to this level. So equality is same level, whether you are in the Western country or the so it's nearly saying for those that are online, the question that we are tackling is about women staying at home. Yes. So the question that we are tackling is that question of women staying at home and men working, whether start a good concept. And we are answering, so the question is from the aspect of the man understands equality and the woman understands equality. And the contribution that we've that has been given is that we need to empower this woman and go and find a job. And the primary reason to do that is to avoid, I think I like what Nina said about it in the service level, it might look good because this man understands equality. There is no way as a man who understands equality will abuse this woman in any way. But you will see that this woman is having a financial dependence on this man, and that's why we are encouraging the empowerment of this woman, at least to have her financial independence. So Dickens, not Dickens. I had Robert, then Dickens, then.
Okay. I think there's something here where use between financial independence and households. And we are supposed to look it from the aspect of financial independence, the higher side. The fact that a man is working and sending home money, for me, that's not enough. Because in case of anything, this man is not there. So we'll be sending money to this one. So it's important that even if this man is earning a lot, to sensitize to empower this woman so that she can also be earning something for her own. You see, if the mindset is that the man is sending and that is enough, I think we are not doing equality. There is no equality there. Because what we need is financial independence for both the man and the woman, so that whether, regardless of the amount of money it is under, both should be earning something.
Yeah, so I think what Robert is saying is more what the focus, where the focus should be. The focus should be the household. It should be about money, because we know money is power. Yeah, money is power. So financial independence. So Deacon, then you.
Okay. If there have been no agreement that paying from the women is bad, we cannot do that. At first, we have to with that if it's bad, now if it's a bad thing, we will think of the solution of how this woman will get away from. But if we have to have a good thing, I think it's equally like that. We cannot get the second thing. If we use the golden rule, it works better. If this man who is going, who is coming, who is working, knows that because of it, he's getting exposed by the woman is not getting, he's putting them into a public sphere as the woman is not getting. Then what is not apply for the if this man contented it's happening in the woman, they would not like to then a home with all this that is. And lastly, when we think anything is the issue about China. To say the issue in China is Confucianism. And the underlying Confucianism, how it operates. The brother being the younger brother being meeting for the brother, then he gives those blah blah blah, then he comes and says, a man will be the provider and the protector of a woman. And such a kind of life is pattern of the Confucianism. There's no equality.
Okay, so what Deacon has said is one thing that we need to agree, there's no debate whether it's good or bad for a woman to stay at home. It's a bad thing. Then from there, the solutions that are to be made on that situation. Then I think Deacon brought the issue about the golden rule. For this man, it won't be okay. It won't be happy doing the same if we put a golden rule, being wearing the same shoes as a woman, the man will not be happy. So, and another thing that he spoke about, the last point, is about the examples that Elder Terry gave, yeah, about Confucianism in China and how it's being read by the older, the younger submitting to the elder. Then at the end of the day is that the conclusion is a man should be a provider and protector of the family. Yeah. You still want to talk?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you and then
I'm getting was nowadays that I mean that 7 minutes. Somebody gets more money than doing all the things like that. If you are doing to tell me that when somebody is at home doing self-employment, earning from home a lot of money can go to work, it's bad.
also I think it's a question saying that nowadays, today, women earn more money by staying at home. That's what you say? Self-employed. Or at home.
By let's say that the partner doing work at home, he gets more money than going to an office.
So Duncan is saying we have nowadays women working at self-employment, whether you are selling the grocery or whatever, that's self-employment. And it's comparing that at getting more money compared to you going to career and saying, do we say that is a bad idea? Like, do we say that is okay? For me, how I will respond to that one, we've not solved the problem. I think the problem of culture. Then you're seeing women, the only thing they can be pestered, you're looking at the consequences, the result, which is money. But what we are looking at is women also can go into higher positions. So that is the issue, the higher positions. The issue is not about the money that she is going to get from out of that grocery. It's about the man can be a CEO elsewhere, earns 50,000, and this woman has 50,000. This woman has to be involved and have that bigger position as the man. I think for me, that's how I look at it. Then I will have Brian, Esinyeni, Sandra, then Nick.
I think before this one, I just wanted to point out that personally the word empower sounds odd to me. I don't know who else. Like it comes from this perspective that a man grants something that is inherently in a woman to a woman. When somebody uses the term empower in reference of what I think I would refer to liberating, it brings this connotation of that the power is in the woman, the man, that they are empowering the woman, and I think that's not quite true, because the woman has equally power that is inherent in them to hold any position, to do any work, you know. Then another point, if that's at home, but that's my personal views, how it usually comes, how I usually perceive that word empower. Whenever somebody says empower, it really, I feel odd. I don't know. It just seems odd to me.
So two definitions of empower. So if you use the first one, it says give someone the authority or power to do something, which is what you're questioning. Like, why does a man have to give power or authority to the woman? She's already got it. So I get that. But the second definition is make someone stronger and more confident, especially in controlling their life and claiming their rights. So I think when people say that's what they're referring to, hopefully. But I guess I get your problem with that, because it's two definitions. The definition we're doing is men need to hungry and doing and encourage them to go forward in study and work. And
But then I would contend, because it has two meanings. And
But
you just do away with it, and because liberate, something like liberate. Okay, you got my point. And it was personally how I feel. But then another point I would make is, I think in regards to women staying at home and working, at the backdrop of that is this issue of country living and urban living, or urban work and country works. And I think there's usually a deception that maybe a woman can stay at home and do work, and like there's some work they will be doing. But in contrast, the man is working